Hey, everybody. I'm going to post the Unit 4 video that I'm doing right now, weekly walkthrough, early this week, because I've already had several people turning in work for Unit 4. And in some cases, no problem, but in others, kind of the point of some of the assignments were missed. So I just want to reiterate how important it is to watch these. If you're watching this, I'm probably preaching to the choir, but make sure you know what the assignment is asking. And if you don't, reach out, let me know, and I can help you with it. I also want to apologize in advance for my voice. I don't know what I did. It is not COVID, but I'm very congested today. So bear with me on that. All right. So as usual, I'm going to go to the course and we'll start in student mode. Nope. Yeah. Okay. All right. Sorry, I'm talking to myself as well, even without a voice. The announcements, of course, last week I posted this. If you know you turned something in and you receive a 0 back on it, it is so important to check why. Not by emailing me, but by going into the actual assignment and looking at the feedback. In some cases, it's just as simple as you uploaded the wrong assignment for the wrong class, or this was not the document that you meant to put here, whatever the case may be. But it does also usually mean that you're going to need to do something. You're going to need to resubmit it. So check this out. If you get a 0, feel free to ask questions about it, but that should be a helpful guide. All right, so as I mentioned, we're going to Unit 4. Actually, let me go over finding your feedback before we even do Unit 4's walkthrough, because some people had asked about that specifically. So if you go to your grades, where'd they go? There it is, my grades. When you get a grade back, of course, there will be a number over here in the grade column as opposed to nothing at all. If you have submitted something and it has not been graded yet, that symbol looks different. But this is the one that I just graded. We're going to click on it. And then you have, it looks just like I get it when you turn it in. So you have several things to look at for your feedback. One, of course, is the rubric. And you can check this, click this right here, and you'll see that the rubric pops up. On categories where you're scoring in the competent or exemplary range, you're doing well. In places where you may be scored lower than that, those are areas for you to target in terms of improvement. So the rubric itself is a form of feedback. However, you will also have inline notes. Usually these are positive, or sometimes it's just for the formatting, this needs to be indented or this should be double spaced. So a lot of times it's just that kind of stuff. But you are able to see everything here. Most of the time it's going to be in these comment boxes. But for example, on this one, this last paragraph had nothing to do with the assignment. It was just like an add-on. I know it was there because we did a thing with it, but so you'll notice that it's marked out. And then you have the actual comments to me. So, hi, Bob. Wow, the third paragraph is really interesting. This particular assignment was for 2 paragraphs only. So this is where I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to do going forward to improve. Okay, so always make sure you're viewing your feedback. Again, it's under my grades. And instead of just clicking on the number or even on the comment window, click on the link and that will show you all of the comments. Okay. All right. So Unit 4 is about preparing for the argument essay. You're going to be picking your topic for the argument essay this week, and you're going to be writing 2 paragraphs on either side, one pro, one con, of the chosen issue. So your readings and resources, again, I'm going to reiterate, you absolutely need to do all of these before you attempt the assignments. If you're not doing that and you're not viewing the weekly walkthrough video, that's why you may be not getting the grades that you're wanting, because everything you need to know is in here. I promise it is. So you've got a section on finding evidence and on evaluating sources, because this week you're also going to be doing your own research. You're going to be finding your own sources. So let's go back to Unit 4. For the discussion board this week, you're going to have, it's kind of a fun one. Select a product that is interesting to you. You can write 1 paragraph about the pro side of this product and 1 about the con side. You can pick your own product, but some suggestions that people use are things like a water bottle. Last semester, somebody got really kind of mad about a water bottle. It just means, should you use a reusable water bottle? That's what the argument is about. Self-driving cars, pros and cons of those, et cetera, et cetera. You can pick. And then, of course, in your responses to others, maybe you've tried that. Maybe you've never tried it. So kind of respond back to what they say about the product and whether you think you might actually use it or not. All right, so the big assignment is Unit 4's assignment, the pro and con of an issue. You have 3 choices for topics, and this topic that you pick this week is going to be used next week and in the argument essay. So this is going to be your topic for the rest of the semester. So choose carefully and pick one that you have interest in. If you don't have interest in any of them, I'm sorry, but that's the way it goes sometimes. The 3 areas are free speech in social media. In other words, should social media companies be able to regulate speech on their platform? For example, if you see people posting all the time about how they were sent to Facebook jail, right? Because they posted something that went against the standards, or that somebody complained about, because sometimes it's just as simple as that. But should those media companies be allowed to regulate free speech? And one thing I want to remind you of with that, the Second Amendment doesn't, the First Amendment doesn't actually apply to this, because we're not talking about the government, we're talking about private companies. So keep that in mind. Everybody wants to jump on free speech, but we're talking about private companies. We're also talking about sometimes companies that aren't even in the United States. So the Constitution would definitely not apply there. I mean, you can talk about free speech and how important it is to Americans, but it isn't really a valid argument against a company creating a policy. So anyway, but that's a very popular one. The second one is mandatory American health insurance. And this is different than free healthcare. Mandatory American health insurance was something that came up during the Obama administration with the insurance that's still called Obamacare by a lot of people. And it was the mandate that Americans had to have some kind of health coverage. If they weren't getting it from the employers, they had to sign up with the government. The mandate actually went away. So whether or not you think Americans should have free health care, that's a different argument altogether. Do you think that all Americans should have some kind of coverage, whether it is through private insurance, whether it is through their employer, or whether it is supplied by the government? So that's the argument there. The last one is American National Service Requirement. This again is something that the United States does not currently have, but you do have countries, Israel being a big one, that every Israeli citizen is required to serve in the military. You have other countries where it's not all military, but some kind of public service has to be done for usually 2 to 3 years, I think it is. So America has not ever done that. We have had a draft, but that's different. Signing up for the draft, I guess technically does count as American National Service requirement, but be careful about how you write about it. Because it doesn't mean automatically military service, and it doesn't automatically mean a draft situation. But a service requirement would be if the United States decided that all citizens at age 18 had to do some kind of public service. Could be military, could be something else. So when you're searching for these, as you're trying to find resources, because that's going to be one of your big goals this week, you want to vary the way that you talk about it. And I'm going to post some stuff in the middle of the week that will help you with that. What different search terms to use, that sort of thing. But you don't want to just go to the library site and put in free speech regulated on social media or mandatory American health insurance. Those phrases are not going to get you what you need in terms of resources. However, you are going to be using the library this week. So don't forget, when you are ready to do some searching, the link to the library, and it's blocked by the student mode preview, but you have a link to the library up at the very top of the page. You can go directly there. I'll open it before we leave just to remind you and show you. One last thing to remind you of the things that you need to do well. Print this out, okay? Save it on your computer. Do whatever you need to with it. But go back to this over and over as you are doing the research, as you are writing your first draft, as you are making changes to it, and definitely check it one more time before you turn it in to make sure that you have actually done what's required of the assignment. You must have a Word document or a PDF. You must have a cover page, title page in the APA. You must have the document double spaced, 1-inch margins, double spaced throughout the whole thing. Each of the 2 paragraphs should be 7 to 9 sentences. And in each of the 2 paragraphs, you have to have a paraphrased piece of research that is cited with an in-text citation. That's where a lot of people struggled in Unit 2. Those in-text citations are never, ever, ever not needed. That's a quadruple negative, but they have to be there. Usually it's going to be an author and a year inside the little parentheses. But go back to Unit 2. There's a whole section on that in the resources. I'm also going to be posting some things to help with that. Remember, your 2 sources that you're required to use must be from the library. They cannot be websites. So you do need to use the library databases, and there is even a link right here that will take you where you need to go. Do not use Google. Okay, use the library, not Wikipedia, not procon.org. It's all there, it's all written, but sometimes when we're off doing our own thing, we get tempted by Google and other things. Write it in objective third person, like we've been talking about. Your first paragraph back in week 1 was a personal narrative. So of course you were, I did this and I knew this person and whatever. But from then on out, we just talk about things in the third person. As usual, the rubric is also on here. But for me, these are the most important parts. Okay, let me click the library database link. You will have to sign in. And once you're signed in, you will be able to search by keyword, and you can put any words in here, but let me demonstrate what happens if we put in, what was it called? How did they put it? Got too many tabs open. And Zoom covers them up, so it makes it even more difficult. All right, it's not still open. Let's put in, I know this one, mandatory health insurance in America. Somebody's tried to search it, so let's just search that. All right, so we ended up with a bunch of sources, and there are things in this top thing that will help you. This one especially, I think, is probably a good one. Although keep in mind, this was written back in 2004, so it's not very current, but I would trust something like this. But you also want to note that this is not in an academic journal. This isn't a regular periodical. I don't have a problem with that, but you do need to be able to see the full text. So let's limit this to full text. And that one I think is, yeah. So it then becomes the very first one. So when you find an article that looks interesting, you click on it. You are going to want to, before you do anything else, you're going to want to click the cite button over here. And you're going to want to copy this, not AMA, where are we? APA, there it is. You're going to want to copy this and paste it into your Word document. This is your citation that goes on the references page. Now, when you cite what you have paraphrased from this article, you're going to use Bailey and you're going to use 2004. This is not a PDF document, so even though we know it occurred on page 38 to 46, we won't be able to see what is on what page, so you would not have a page number. If this was a PDF, you would also have, you'd have Bailey, comma, 2004, comma, page 39, wherever it is. In order to then read the article and choose something to paraphrase from it, you would click on that. And here is your whole article. It's pretty long. It's a substantial article. So even though it's not in an academic journal, this is a really good analysis. So far, just searching for mandatory health insurance worked, but it doesn't always work that well. So let me put in free speech. Okay, well, here's that phrase. All right, let's see how it goes. Maybe Post Library has done some things to help put these at the top. Some of these will definitely, they are relevant, but I don't know how much a case from Falau and Australia is going to help you, from Israel and Australia is going to help you. Here's one though, free speech still matters. That might be pretty good to use. But it's better to be more general in your search terms and talk about let's talk about social media. Let's put in social media first. And then we can do an advanced search. And then we can put in oh, I don't want all of that. Then notice how it helps us. Regulation or law or policy or legislation. Let's just put in regulation though. I want to keep just regulation. And let's put in the term argument and see if we can get some that are clearly talking about one side or the other, because that's your goal here. Again, this one, it has to do with India. I don't know how careful or how helpful that's going to be. So some of these are, I don't know if I like them. I'm going to put in restriction instead. I don't know if I like these either. One of the things you can also do, because sometimes the academic journal ones are overwhelming because they're based on specific studies and things like that. Another thing you might want to do is limit it to just magazines. Let's try that. This one's interesting. It's brand new. Some law in Florida got struck down, but that is probably again because it is a government issue. Um, this one might be kind of interesting. Free speech on social media, banning convicted sex offenders from Facebook. Um, how to fix social media. That one sounds kind of interesting. Mental health issues, that could be kind of interesting. It's not a super long article, it's only 4 pages, but sometimes those are really interesting. So I guess my main point is, do not be afraid to reach out for help in terms of finding sources. There is a wonderful button here on this page called Ask a Librarian. I highly recommend that. You only need 2 articles for this week, but you are going to be using the same topic for your argument essay. So another thing that I like to do is if I find an article that I like, let me just open this one. If I find an article that I like, one of the things I will do is come over here and I will email it to myself. And that will allow me to have it for later. So maybe it won't work for this particular assignment or for this particular 2-paragraph assignment, but maybe I might want to use it in my argument essay. So keep that in mind as you're doing your research this week. Don't forget to get help if you need it. And then you'll turn in your just 2 paragraphs. That's all it is. And one's on one side of the argument and one's on the other side of the argument. That's it for this week. But you will have a cover page, 2 double-spaced paragraphs, and a references page with at least 2. Well, it should only be 2, but if you find another source that you use, go ahead and put it on there too, but you should have 2 articles from the library databases that are on each side. Okay, you got this. Let me know if you need help, and we will see you next Monday. Everybody take care.